All right. So, as we were saying in our last class, right? Basically, what we want to do is we want to create a to-do list. And basically, what that to-do list is going to do is that it allows users add data and remove data. So when I say add data, users can come here, right? Let's say I want to, learn, learn programming. They can do this, click enter, and then submit. Automatically something submit. Now that is what we want to do. Now, for us to do that, right, we can just go ahead and use the same method that we've been using before. That's the template literals that we did before to put the so what am I saying? So first of all, we can get button. I can say const btn, right, equals to what? Let's say document dot query selector, right? Then I'm going to get what hash button, because that's what we need to get, this particular button here to submit. Then also to show the input, you can say this particular div that is here to show the inputs are there. So we can say const show equals to what? Document dot query selector, right? Then we're gonna have dot show, right? Now we can do this and then go ahead and listen for an event on our button. So we can say btn dot add event listener, right? Then we're going to listen for a click event, and then we're going to create a function. I'm going to create a function, right? And this function is basically just going to say, oh, okay, so we're going to do show dot inner html, right, plus equals, right, every time that we are click on the button, plus equals to what? So we can now say let's say what we want is I'm trying to think of something, plus equals, so we can see so let's create an h1 element, h1, right? So we can now go ahead and see uh okay, we've not gotten the input here, so let's get the input also. Const input equals to document dot query selector, right? Then we're going to go hash input. So I can now come right here and I can say, oh, okay, since we've gotten that, we can now say $sign. Then we're going to have input dot what value, just to get the value of that particular input. Now, if I go ahead now and if we try to check it now, check what we've done. So let's try and check what we've done so far. If I refresh and I go, oh, Paul, submit. Okay, I think there's a problem there. Okay, line 43, there is a problem on line 43, so let us check it out. Oh, okay, so this is the problem on line 43. So let's save it again and let's try it again. So if I save it and then I write read submit, okay, cannot read properties of inner HTML5. Okay, so that was a problem. So show.inner HTML. So we just wanted to show input.value, this particular input.value. Why is it not showing? Oh, sorry, it's lists, not show dot list. Now, if we check it out now and we try it again, read, submit. Now, as you can see that, okay, it is adding. If I go ahead and I say real, try to add something different, it comes on to the next line, as you can see. So this is a normal way in which you create your to-do list. I hope everybody understands it up to this point because we did it in our last class. Please, if it is clear, give me a thumbs up. If you understand it up to this point, please give me a thumbs up because we did this in our last class. This was basically what we did in our last class, just to like reiterate what we're trying to do. Okay, so that means everybody understands up to this point. Now, this is basically how you can just create a basic to-do list. I was wrong. You can create a basic to-do list, right? Sorry, just give me a moment, please. Let me quickly personalize these tabs. All right, so let's continue. So as I was saying, right? Okay, I think someone was trying to join. Let me add. Okay, person isn't. Okay, so as I was saying, right, we were able to like create something like this in our last class that just allows you to let's say poll allows you to add multiple lists, like a to-do list, basically a to-do list. We're able to do something like this in our last class. So now, but right now, what if we want to add a delete button to read? Or want to add the delete button to poll, right? I will click on submit. What if we want to do all of these things? What happens now is that it becomes difficult for us to do. Why? Because first of all, these data are only singular data. What do I mean by singular data? They are on their own. You understand? They are not exactly um in a collection of data. They're just playing outside. And one thing about JavaScript is that datas are not, especially datas like this, are not just meant to be. They are meant to be stored, right? And for you to store them, these data have to be in a variable. Now, variables that, basically what variables are. Variables just help you store data, but they don't store multiple data. They store just one data. You understand it now? So for us to be able to store a lot of data in this particular place, we need to put all of these things in an array. I hope everybody's getting it now. Because we need to store what we know is that a lot of if you are creating a to-do list, basically what you're trying to do is that you basically store a lot of data, right? Now, for you to store a lot of data, right, you have to be able to put those data in an array. So what we have to do now is that the value of all of these lists that will be coming out here has to be stored in an array so that we can access them later. Now that's basically what we need to do, right? So I don't know, do we understand the little explanation that I gave just now? Is it clear to everybody? That little explanation I gave just now. Okay, it's clear to one person. All right. So now that is basically one thing that we need to focus on right now. First of all, as I said, we need to store all of those data in an array. Now, for us to store those data in an array, how exactly are we going to go about that? Now, first of all, I told you, for us to store data in arrays, right, we have to first of all define our array. So I can say const to those equals to empty array. Now, yes, we have this empty array. What now happens is that whatever data will be coming out from this particular place will now be stored into this array, right? And we all know how to do that. I know we've talked about it before. Who can help us out? How exactly are we going to take the data from this place into this particular array? I need someone to please just unmute and let us know. Is everybody here? Hello? Somebody, Miss Favor, Mr. David, Mr. Shegun, Mr. Pius, Mr. Kelvin. How do you add data into an array? I'm actually waiting for somebody to just come up and speak, because we've done this several times. We've done this a lot of times. So anybody can unmute and speak, please. I need someone to say something.
So is it a const new value, input new value?
No, the thing is that maybe you didn't get my question. This is what I'm saying. For instance, if you have an array, let's say const array equals to mango, guava, right? And we are not given an assignment to add pineapple to this particular array. How are you going to add it? So of course, the array already has mango and guava. How then do you now add pineapple to this same array? How do you add it? That's the question. That's exactly what I'm saying. How do I add the value in this place into this particular to-do array? So first of all, answer this one. How do you add pineapple to this array? And you cannot add it manually by just writing pineapple. How do you come down here and add pineapple to this particular array? Please, I need someone to unmute and tell me. Okay, Miss Favor, please go ahead.
We can use the push method to add it to the array.
Sorry?
I said we can use the push method to add it to the array.
Okay, so how am I going to use the push method?
Okay, so we are going to, in the next line, we can push it. Like push, we write the data inside, the new tags inside them. To-do list, like
Yes, I know, but
dot
just
push.
tell me. Just don't, no, leave the to-do. Let's focus on this array that is down here. How am I going to do this? I need to know.
Sir?
I know, leave the to-dos for now. Just focus on this place, this particular AR. How am I going to add pineapple to this place?
Okay. Array dot push.
Okay, good. Dot push.
Then put the data inside.
All right, good. Now, that's exactly how it is going to work. So we told you, I explained when we are doing array methods that push is used in what? Pushing elements to the last part of an array. So we have a lot of what's the name? We have a lot of methods, right? We have push, we have pop, we have shift, we have unshift, we have a lot of them, right? And they all have their work. So when we now talk about push, we are trying to say, oh, please help me push this particular data to the last part of this array. Now that's what push does. Now, please, I maybe we've not been going through these things because this is something we've done a lot of times, and I was expecting everybody to at least have an answer to this because we've done this. I've always said this: when it comes to JavaScript, you cannot go one day without revisiting the basics, because the basics is actually what's going to prepare you for future tougher tasks. You understand it now? So if you do not go through the basics over and over and over and over again, there is no way you are going to get this. So please let us try as much as possible to go over the basics over and over and over again. I was actually expecting everybody to get this particular part because we've done this push. We did if you remember, we did push, we did pop, we did shift, we did on shift, we did splice, and then we also did slice. Now this were like the 6 this thing that we did. Then I think we did some other string method. I've forgotten, but we did it. We did them. So please let's just go ahead and go through the basics of these things. Now, that is how you add data to an existing array by using push. Now, in this case, now we need to do the same thing for this particular to-dos. Now, this particular to-dos need to have the data from. I'm just going to move this to-dos up. Control X. I'm going to take it to the beginning. Good. So now this particular to-dos needs to have the data from this function or from this particular place embedded into this place. That's one thing that we need to do, right? So how do we do it? We need to create a function that automatically takes this particular data and add it to this array. So for us to add it to this array, of course, we need to use what? The push, what's the name? We need to use the push method. So how are we going to do it? Now we can just say I'm just going to comment this out because we do not need this btn for now. I'm going to comment that. I'm going to say btn dot add event listener. Now what we are going to do now is that instead of us just printing an empty data or just printing a lone data right outside using this particular btn, we're now going to convert it to show that okay, this particular btn is now going to print out those data in an array instead. You understand? As I was saying before, you know that we have this, right? It is just printing out the data one. We need to what? Push those data into an array rather than just printing it in lone values. So what are we going to do? We're going to convert this instead of printing it to the that particular show menu, printing one. We're going to what? Move it into this particular what? Array. And how are we going to do that? So we say btn.add event listener. We're going to listen for a click event, right? Then we're going to what? Have a function, not function. Yes. Now this particular function is now what's going to help us move it. So first of all, we're going to check we're going to check we're going to get the input value, right? And then if of course, whenever we go to a particular place and users try to just submit, right, something happens, we don't want anything to happen because we want the user to what, at least input something. So what are we going to do? We're going to check if whatever the user is inputting is actually a character. But if it is not a character, I want you to what, stop this function. You know what? We'll get there. We'll do that. We'll do that later. We'll get there. Now, one thing that we need to do is that what we need to convert this particular to-dos, right? Convert these to-dos. Convert the input coming from this place and what, put it inside of this to-dos array. Now, for us to do that, we can just say to-dos dot push, right? Will now be what, the input dot value. Now, what are we saying? Automatically we've created a function now that says, okay, whenever someone tries to like write a particular value in this particular input that is here. So if I write something in this place now and I click on submit, what I'm trying to do now is that what, I now have this particular value in this place. So if I go down here and I say, oh, console.log to-dos, what am I going to have? You see what's going to happen now. If I say Paul and I click submit, oh, sorry, I'm going to move this to-dos back inside. Good. So now let us try it out. So if I say console.log Paul submit, as you can see, I have Paul here now. And if I say console.log, if I say Polo, you're going to have, now as you can see, it is now adding value to that particular to-do. Before, they were not together in the same array. They were not like, group of values. They were just singular values. Now they are group of values. This allows us to add or remove from this particular array easily. So what am I saying? Now I can add and I can remove Paul. I can add, I can remove follow easily. So I can easily create the delete feature for this easily, and then it works. But if they were just not singular pairs like that, it will be very, very hard for me to create a delete feature for it. You understand? That's why we have to first of all what? Add them to an array. Do you understand it now? So that is basically one thing about your to-dos. So far, do we understand it up to this point? Is it clear to us? So far, is it clear to us? Okay. Please, if it is not clear, you can still unmute and let me know. Okay. So looks like it's clear to everybody. So we're going to move on. Now, this is basically one thing about your what's the name? This is basically one thing about this your to-do list. You have to first of all add them to an array so that you can easily have access to deleting each data later. You understand it now? So now that's one thing about your arrays. Now the next thing that we have to do is that we now have to create a function. Now this time around, that function is not going to work on adding or removing from that particular array. You understand? That is basically what we want to do. So what am I saying? You know, we've added the values in that increase value to an array. This time around now we now have to create a function, and this particular function is now going to be is going to be the one that now adds the value and displays our to-do list to the screen. Now that is basically what we're going to work on. So we're going to call this function show to do. So I'm going to say function, right? And I'm going to call it show to do's, right? So now what this function is going to do is that it's going to take whatever it is that is in this input, or whatever it is that is in this place, and put it out to this particular list that we have here. You understand it now? So how are we going to do that? We have to first of all add this show. So we're going to say show dot what inner HTML, because that's basically where we want to show it. You understand? Show dot what inner HTML, and then we're not going to have it. We're going to say equals what to do's. Now we are not done yet. Let me just show you what I'm trying to say. If I go ahead and say read, it's not going to show anything because we are not done yet. So what are we going to do now? First of all, we need to what? As I said, when I said show.inner HTML, what it means is that what it is showing whatever elements that is in this place in this particular elements HTML I don't want to say element, attributes or so. You understand it now? So now what we need to do now is that this particular to-dos, right? Yes, it's an array. So for us to show the content of the array, we need to map through it, right? We need to make sure that, okay, we can map through those arrays. We can get a single entity of each array so that we can add or delete those arrays. You understand what I'm trying to say? Now, for instance, now when we were trying to do so when I say const ARR equals to let's say mango. Let me just try these two elements and guava. What did you do here when we're trying to loop through it? When you use the for loop in our last 2 classes or 3 classes, we said for I equals what 0, right? Then I is less than or equals to what ARR dot length, right? Then I'm not going to say I plus plus. Now, what have we just done here? Basically, we want to comment out, we want to console, or want to print out the values of this mango and guava, right? So for us to print it out, what did you have to do? We have to like equate I to the length first, I plus plus. Then we're not going to say what? I'm not going to have console.log, right? ARR to the index of what? I. Now, what this basically means is that, okay, since we want to show this particular elements, mango and guava. What we need to do is that we need to first of all loop through this particular array so we can get single entity of them. So if you check this place out now, you should be able to get what mango and what guava. Now I can get the singular entity of each of them. Now that's the same thing with your mapping, right? We need to get each and every of those to-dos so that we can delete them and then we can also add them independently without having to depend on any other thing. Now that's exactly why we are using this particular method of mapping. So if I say to-dos dot map, right? I have to map through it. Then I'm going to get each to-do, right? Then I'm going to get the index, which means that, okay, I want to get where each of these things is starting from. Then I'm going to have this, right? And then we're going to go ahead and start working on them. So far, I hope everybody understands this because this is very much important that we get. Is it clear to everybody, please? If it is clear, just give me a thumbs up. If it is not, of course, you can still let me know if this is not clear. So far, is this clear? Do you understand mapping? I don't like the fact that everybody's quiet. Has been so quiet on this call. Mr. David, I am not hearing from you. Mr. Kelvin, I don't even know if Mr. Kelvin is here. Mr. Pius, also. Miss Favor has been talking once in a while, but I still don't know if she's here. The only person I know that is here is Mr. Shegun because I can see him typing and he's been responding. So, okay, good. I'll explain it again. So, Mr. Pius, you're muted. I think you wanted to say something.
Yes, I wanted to say you should please go over it again.
Okay, good. I'll go over it again. So now what am I saying, right? We understand it up to this point. Now, what we have here is that we will not have, so for instance, let's say you have a value. I'm going to log each of this value again so you can see what I'm trying to say. If I go ahead and I say read, yes, you're going to have read there. Let me just keep adding all of them. Good. Now, you have 7 items in this array. You have 0, you have one of index 0, index 1, 2, 3, up to like 6. That's 7 items, right? Let's say you want to delete read. How do you delete read? You need to delete read by getting the value of this read and the index of read so you can remove it. Now, one thing about arrays is that you cannot easily get the value of something, right? If you do not have access to all of those things, to the total value of that particular array. Now, one thing that looping will help you do is that it allows you to get every single entity, every single value and entity in that particular array. You understand it now? So now if I loop through this particular array now, I'm going to have access to read GGG, and read every single thing. I'm going to have access to all of them. Why? Because I'm looping through the array. Do you get it now? So now, if I now loop through the array, I can get each of them singularly and then edit it or delete it. Because that's exactly the feature that I want to do now. I told us that what I want us to do is that I want us to configure a delete button and make sure that it works. Now, for us to be able to get this delete button or add or do anything, we need to first of all get each of those entities independently. Now, for us to get those entities independently, we need to loop through them. Do you understand now? Now, for us to loop through them, we can easily use a particular loop function named map. So first of all, I'm going to have to create a function now. This function is going to be basically showing the to-dos to our what? So I'm going to say show to-dos to our screen, show to-dos. That's what this function is going to be about. Now, where is it going to show the to-dos? Of course, it has to show it in this place. That's in this list that is here. So I'm going to say show dot inner HTML, right? Equals to, again, as I said, we need to get individual value of these to-dos. So we need to map through it. We need to loop through it. Let's just use loop. Now, what am I going to do? I'm going to say to-dos dot map so that we can get individual values of those arrays. And then we're going to go to do. So it takes 2 parameters. The first is each to do, right? You can use any name here. It doesn't have to be to do, but just for it to make sense. When you say to do, to do's is combination of everything. To do is one. Then the second entity is going to be the index of that particular to do. Is it index 0? Is it index 1? Is it index 2? Is it index 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 or 7 or 8, depending on the one that you want. And then we're going to go ahead and then what? We are now going to get individual of all of them. Now I'm going to put my backticks so that we can create a to-do button. Now, do you understand this now? Is it clear? Because I don't know if everybody understands it up to this point. Now, that's one thing about your map. Allows you get each of those elements individually. Please, is it clear to everybody now? Mr. Pius, is it clear to you?
Yes. Yes.
Mr. Okay, all right, good. Mr. Kelvin and Mr. David, I've still not heard from you. Are you following, please? All right, so let's move on. So just a moment. All right, so let's move on. Now the next thing that we'll be talking about is how then do we now go ahead? Okay, yes, we've gotten the to-dos. How then do you now go ahead and what? Show the values of these to-dos. So first of all, since we said we just want to get individual of all of these things, we can just go ahead and create an H1 element here. So I'm going to say H1, right? And then we're going to say, oh, H1 is going to what? Give us to-dos. So I'm going to say to-do, right? It's going to give us each of all of those things. And the second thing is that it's going to also give us a button, right? Okay, I'm going to create a div here instead. I think we have a div already, so I don't think we need it. So we're going to go ahead and have a button that is here. I'm going to create a button here, right? And this button is going to have a class of delete button because we also need to have this class button. So we're going to say del btn, right? Then we're also going to have a data index to specify that particular index that we want to delete or that I want to add. And then we're going to call it what? Index. Oh, sorry, this was a mistake. We're supposed to use, yeah, we're going to call it index. Where is it? Index. Exactly. So now that is it. And then this particular is going to have it what? Delete btn. So now let us try it out and then let's see what we have now. Just a moment, please. Okay, so let's try it out. So if you refresh and then we'll go read and submit. Now nothing is working yet. Let's check it out. Oh, okay. What's wrong? Okay, let's try. So let's join. I think this was what we stopped in our last class too. It's just giving us voila. So let's try it again. Okay, so it's still not working. I don't know why it's not working yet because this is actually supposed to work currently. And it's not giving us any error yet. So okay, let us try something else first. Let's use a list item here. So I don't know why. Or I'm going to use a X. So I'm going to use a list item here first. Okay. All right, so let's try it out again now and let's see. Okay, so this is supposed to work. All right, so let's just go through this again. So we have the list that is here. Then to-dos dot map. Okay, good. To do the index. Okay, good. Then okay, yeah, it is not going to work because we've not called out the function here. So we're going to call out show to-dos up here, right? And then let us try and do it again and let's see what happens. So yeah, it's working now, as you can see. It is working now. So now the reason why it wasn't working is because, of course, we gave it this particular to do, right? Like we how do I put it? We created this to do, this function that is here, but we did not call it out. You know, I told you that you have to always call out your function. It's very, very important that you call out your functions. So now, if you check it out now, I'm just going to go ahead and console.log this to do. And then if you check it out now, what do you have? You're going to have read, and as you can see, it is coming up. Read again, as you can see, it's coming up. As you can see, whatever it is you have here, you also have in this place. So read. Now the array keeps going up and up and up and up and up and up. As you can see, it keeps improving. Now, whatever value you have here, it is now stored in the array. So I can go ahead now and access each of these things and then delete them. So I hope everybody understands what we've just done. Is it clear to us? Is it clear to us? It's very, very important that it is clear. Because if it is not clear, I don't think we can move forward. But yeah, this is basically one thing about array. Any questions so far? I'm going to give us time to write this down now before moving on to working on the delete feature. But any questions so far?
Boss, please go back to your code.